Hello and welcome back to the channel. I haven't changed, I just took a layer off because it was getting hot in here. This is the same day. Zach is here with me again to talk about XTC some more. If nearly 2 hours wasn't enough for you, then you've got more XTC coming your way. Top 20 songs. If you don't know how it works around here, when an artist has 10 or more albums, we are allowed 20 songs, but 20 through 11, we kind of just speed through them, list them all off, and then we'll go one a piece for our top 10 to go a bit more in detail about the songs. So I guess I'll go first since you're a newcomer and I will guide you. Yeah, 20 through 11. This was really tough. I actually only have two honorable mentions to list off at the end. I usually have more than that, but I think that was just because, yeah, I think a few just sort of tailed off, but the ones I have are incredible. So, number 20 from Skylarking, The Meeting Place. 19 from Oranges and Lemons, Garden of Earthly Delights. Number 18 from Mama, Wonderland. Number 17 from None Such, Then She Appeared. 16 from Drums and Wires, When You're Near Me, I Have Difficulty Respirating. Number 15, White Music, Statue of Liberty, hell yeah. 14, English Settlement, All of a Sudden It's Too Late. Number 13, from Skylarking, Season Cycle. Number 12, from None Such Again, the opening track, Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead. And then my number 11, which was in the top 10 pretty much from when I listened to the album until today when I sorted out my songs list. Burning with Optimism's Flames from Black Sea falls out of the top 10, unfortunately.
Got it. Yeah. It's about what I expect. A couple overlaps here. So my 20 to 11, number 20 from Skylarking, won't be the last. That's really Supergirl. Number 19 from Black Sea, Generals and Majors. Number 18, actually, lower than you, Statue of Liberty from White Music. Number 17, The Everyday Story of Small Town from The Big Express. 16, Wrapped in Gray from Nonsuch. 15, Frivolous Tonight from Apple Venus Volume 1. Not one you had a lot of praise for. 14, Earn Enough for Us from Skylarking. 13, I'll Set Myself on Fire from White Music. 12, Ball and Chain from English Settlement. And 11, This Is Pop? From White Music.
Sweet, yeah. You kind of lost me for a bit there, and then you brought me back with Earn Enough for Us, so that's cool. Yeah, top 10. We go a bit more in detail here. So my number 10 is from English Settlement. It's my favorite track from English Settlement. It is Senses Working Overtime. Maybe was the first song by them I knew. It was either this or Making Plans for Nigel. I can't really remember, but I feel like I've known these two songs forever. They're both sort of hallmarks of the new wave movement. And I obviously prefer this one. If you didn't see the album's video, sorry. Making Plans for Nigel will not be making my list. It just has this really like cool, simplistic chorus. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. First time I heard it, I was a bit off put by it, but there's like a charm to it, especially in the context of the discography. They did something so sort of like childlike, and I don't know. Yeah, it could almost be the intro music for a children's show. You know, that's kind of the vibe I get from it. So yeah, that's my number 10. Senses Working Overtime. Really love it.
Nice, yes, and likewise, that's the big hit. That won't be appearing on my list.
Yeah,
my number 10 from Skylarking, it's The Man Who Sailed Around His Soul. And
nice,
as we mentioned on the video, this one is very interesting. It has an older sound kind of spy music, Bond theme type vibe. And it's a very great song title, first of all. Just the concept of, somebody kind of like sailing around your soul, as in maybe doing a lot of things, but not really in tune with who they are. And I like that concept. I think it fits well at the point in the album. It's definitely very out of place for XTC. They didn't really work with this style as much again, but very haunting. Kind of like the song Nature Boy, in kind of capturing something that feels more eternal or something along those lines than certain other songs. But I just like the instrumentation, the piano, the big guitar, and the horns kind of in the background. It's mysterious and just kind of fits like a glove. So it's my number 10.
Yeah, it was on my short list, but didn't quite make it. One of my favorites on the B-side for sure. Number 9 is from an album I was much fonder on, the newer Black Sea. It's the opening track, Respectable Street. I have a real fondness for the openings. Already a couple showed up, and there's going to be more as well. And yeah, I love the lyrics to this song. I kind of briefly mentioned it without going into detail in the album's video, because I knew I was going to do so here. It's like talking about all these like taboo topics, like people are happy to talk about abortions and their sex lives and all that kind of thing. But then it's also funny how like the chorus of the song is like he's making a massive deal out of someone slamming their car door. Like, don't you realize it's supposed to be Respectable Street? It's like, I don't know, there's like a funny irony to the song that I really enjoy. Sort of pointing out the hypocrisy in people, I think. And yeah, aside from all that, it's really catchy. And I love his vocal delivery. It's almost like he's grinning as he's like being this like sort of devilish like figure, sort of overlooking humanity, but not in like a patronizing way either. It's sort of kind of fun. So yeah, Respectable Street's my number 9. I think it's a boatload of fun.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great point on the lyrics. They're really well written. My number 9, and I actually thought this might be on your top 10, but I've already heard it from you. It's Then She Appeared from Nonsuch. And this is just like such a clear highlight song for me. Hearing that guitar as it opens, kind of like, I think, transitioning out of the previous song, and it feels like this wonderful atmosphere. And then Partridge just sounding really beautiful here. None of that quirkiness on this one, and really singing to some pretty high notes and stuff. I don't know if I have that much to say about it, other than it just sounds really nice. It has a ton of melody in it, and really beautiful, and love to turn it on.
Yeah, it was tough. Like I said, it was quite easy picking the 20, but ranking them was, I had a lot of different combinations, but this is what I settled on. My number 8 is also from Nonsuch. It's my favorite song from the album, I think. Yeah. And it is My Bird Performs. So I had the opener and I have the second track. I sort of briefly mentioned it kind of being like a sequel to Mayor of Simpleton. And in that sense, I literally mean like thematically, it kind of deals with like a similar thing. The whole like, I love the line, Shakespeare's sonnets leave me cold. It's like, I don't know, there's just something very charming about the way that Colin delivers it. Even more so than Andy on Mayor of Simpleton, because that's kind of like so poppy and bombastic. But he's sort of like very timid on this song, Colin. Again, more Colin songs than I expected. Given starting this out, I was definitely Team Andy, but I think I like them about the same now. Obviously, Colin had way less songs, so it's more impressive that he's landed with this many. But yeah, I think the trumpet part in it is so beautiful. And the lyrics, yeah, it kind of just epitomizes everything I love about Nonsuch, sonically, as well as those lyrics I really do love as well. Like, yeah, really cool. I just think it's cool. It's not like with Respectable Street where I have my theory on the lyrics. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of just Mayor of Simpleton again, but it works. It's musically very different to that song. So
yeah, it's interesting that you connect them so much. But
I guess it is purely thematically because they sound nothing alike. But it's just like, yeah.
Okay.
They're both the second track as well. Maybe that's like a subconscious connection.
Yeah, I think that's part of it there. But yeah, you mentioned you were team Andy Partridge. You can probably tell I'm kind of team Colin Moulding, but I was surprised I have more Partridge songs in my top 20 than I thought. In fact, I think he outnumbers Moulding by a little bit. He does have a lot more songs, so that's one thing. But my number 8 is from an album you're not very fond of, Apple Venus, Volume 1. It's River of Orchids, the opening track. I think
like
this
that
is
song though. I like that song.
yeah, okay, that's good. I think this is one of the most compositionally advanced things in their whole catalog. Very cool. They never quite got to it again. I'm a little sad that we didn't hear even more expansion of this sound, but again, opening with the drops of water, and then kind of hearing the orchestral parts develop into a kind of classical minimalism of the style of somebody like Philip Glass or Steve Reich. And then the kind of the lyrics going, I heard the dandelions roar in Piccadilly Circus, which of course Piccadilly Circus is a very busy traffic-ridden place. And it's kind of bringing that back, the dandelions kind of symbolizing, almost bringing back to this more place of nature. Very intriguing juxtaposition. And then the rest of the lyrics kind of all fit into that. Where it's like, I had a dream where the car is reduced to a fossil. It's trying to, it fits into this whole, I think, atmosphere that many bands, underground or alternative bands, are going into at this point of, supporting different uses than the car and thinking they were all kind of chained to our vehicles and stuff like that. So I hear that here. I love how the orchestra kind of keeps continuing and it keeps building with the backing vocals eventually entering in. It's a really unique song, and I think it's just a great start to this album.
Yeah, I do like that song a lot. It was on my short list, but again, it was one of those that just kind of fell away. My number 7 is going to be from Skylarking, not the last in the top 10. Already had a couple in the 11 through 20. That's really Supergirl. And yeah, I'm going to point this trend out, and I don't want to. I'm kind of crap with music theory and stuff like that. Even though I do write my own songs, I don't really know what a bridge is and what a pre-chorus is like technically, because I've found myself being wrong a few times. But there's a trend, whether you want to call it a bridge or a post-chorus, of Andy Partridge writing these amazing parts that follow the chorus that are just as catchy and sometimes more catchy than the chorus. And I'll get to it on a song higher on my list. But the Inside Your Fortress of Solitude, don't mean to be rude, but I don't feel super. That's my favorite part of the entire song. It's just like the way you have this like chorus and then it just sort of drifts off into this different direction that links it to the verse again, which is so great. And I mentioned that guitar solo on this song is just nuts. It's amazing. It's so good. I think definitely one of the highlights of Skylarking. I know you had it on your list as well, so that was cool to see.
Yeah, it's a great one, and I know exactly the solo. I can hear it in my head, but like for some reason, it just never really like dawned on me just how good it is. So I'm gonna have to re-listen to it and listen to that solo. All right, my number 7, and it took me some time to sort out the tracks on this album, but this is my favorite from this album. From White Music, Radios in Motion, the lead-off track. It's just such an interesting start. Featuring just like you got the bass part going and it's already kind of like building up the energy as well as feeling a little bit what's exactly like not creepy per se, but just kind of goosebumpy a little bit, and the guitar moving in there, it's got a lot of like distortion kind of on it, and then Andy kind of comes in with this crazy lyric or vocal. There's a message of Jenna. It's so bizarre, but it strikes the perfect balance between kind of dastardly and just like totally like quirky and nerdy at the same time. And it just builds into the chorus, and they all kind of sing together, radios in motion. And it feels like, this is an era of music, this like early new wave. And I feel like this is just one of the peaks of it. It's really a lot of fun. But it's still kind of like a little bit, pushing back against something or doing something different. So I appreciate that quality of it.
Yeah, not a bad song, but wasn't. That's fine. Yeah, this is I mean, it's already been tough, but it gets just tougher and tougher having to put these not at number one. But my number 6 is from Black Sea, my second favorite XTC album. My favorite song from this album, which has been a real grower, Generals and Majors. So good. Total earworm. I think I mentioned that it was one where first I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I don't really see why it's the most popular song on the album. Now I totally do. And as much as I love Respectable Street and Burning with Optimism's Flames, this is just incredible. I mentioned how great the sort of the nylon acoustic guitar that comes in and how unusual that is for a song of this era, which also the Church did with Almost With You, and like a similar kind of song. So it's similar vibes between those songs, which came a couple of years after. But yeah, of all their songs, this is like the most like irresistibly catchy. And I could see how some people might see it as like a bit annoying. I think even I did at first. I was like, all right, I get it. Generals and majors, I was like, all right, yeah, whatever, go away. But like the when I really managed to sink my teeth into it, and it's like, it's just pure brilliance in terms of pop songwriting, I think. And yeah, it just shows that sometimes your first reaction to a song is not reliable, and you need to revisit things. And I definitely have been more so with this project than some of the other discographies I've done, because it's been stretched out over so much time that I felt like I had to come back to some of these songs. And it was definitely worth going back to Black Sea, because this wouldn't have made my songs list initially, but it really has just shot up there. And I've listened to it loads in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, love Generals and Majors. I was wrong at first.
That's very interesting. I always like that. So that was like the one song I really liked off of Black Sea. And yet here I have it down at 19. So very interesting. Yeah, so my number 6, we're on 6. My number 6 is Vanishing Girl. It's my one sole representation from Dukes of the Stratosphere on this top 20. And I really don't know if I have much to say about this song. Just listen to it. It's just so like earwormy and fun, and just the chorus has tons of harmonies in it. Vocals kind of like coming in and around. Yeah, it perfectly kind of like encapsulates this like older times, which is the whole goal of the Dukes, while being in and of itself just a really great pop composition. So that's all I got to say about that one, but just one of my absolute favorites to listen to.
Yeah, that was one actually. The first time I listened to it, I kind of had a similar reaction to it. Sounds like you have now, and it's not that I like it less. It's just that a lot of these songs grew on me, and that one I like just as much the first time I heard it. Which yeah, it was also on my shortlist. I'm not just saying that to please you, but
yeah, it sounds like me with Generals and Majors.
yeah. Yeah, that probably, if it was a top 25, that one would have made it for sure. But we're talking about top 5 now. This is the big guns. My number 5, again, I can't believe it's this low, but Skylarking, Summer's Cauldron. Just incredible songwriting. I mentioned that I'm found floating round and round like a bug in brandy in this big bronze cup. It's like all this weird alliteration, then rhyming found with round and round, and just that one line you could just pick apart, even though it means nothing in terms of like the sort of melodicism of it. It is just genius, and I love how the bird song is incorporated into the song. It fits into it really well. You mentioned pastoral, and I really agree. I like the Talk comparison you made as well, even though this feels more sort of overtly like poppy, than the stuff they were doing with like Color of Spring and that kind of era of their music. But yeah, I think Summer's Cauldron is an absolute gem. And the only reason it's down at number 5 is that I haven't mentioned Grass yet. And it's very rare that I could listen to Summer's Cauldron without immediately putting Grass on again straight away. So that's kind of in the hierarchy of Skylarking. I was like, okay, well, it has to drop down a little bit. But yeah, I still think it's genius songwriting. I love it.
Well, I'm going to keep talking about that song because it's also my number 5. We have a
Yes, I did
rating.
not think that would happen. Hell yeah.
Yes. Um, so yeah, we may have taken a little bit of a different approach to this question, though. But yeah, so it's the opener. Really, it and Grass feel like a two-part song in many ways because of how great that transition is. Even though the first one is a Partridge song, the second one's a Molding song, so it's pretty genius they were able to do that. But I feel like the Summer's Cauldron one is the one that I personally really love. It's just so cool how it opens up with the chirping, and then kind of hearing the voice, Partridge's voice, kind of rise out of that in this very like talky way with the synths and melodica coming in. And yeah, all the lyrical things you're pointing out, I completely agree. I love the way that it, I sort of said this in the album video, but I'm relaxed in the undertow, and it's a feeling of pleasure, but maybe not the best place to stay, and that's kind of what you're getting here. It's a great, interesting place to start and proceed along. I like when Miss Moon lays down and Sir Sun stands up. That brings it a little bit around to a more like nursery rhymish type feel, but I think it's done really well with the other lyrics. I don't have Grass on my list, and not that I don't love it, but something about the octave singing doesn't quite completely work for me if I really think about it hard, but it's still great, and I think that these songs are really a two-part together. So Summer's Cauldron, number 5.
You can't just pick every song from Skylarking. You've got to have some variety. So I get it.
Yeah, that's partly, yeah.
My number 4, from Mama, an album we both championed, Love on a Farmboy's Wages. This is, to me, the hidden gem of the discography. It's not particularly well known. The entire album isn't. I think it's a must listen for anybody, to be honest. That acoustic guitar is absolutely incredible. The chorus is such an earworm. Great lyrics, sort of talking about everyday life. Just brilliant. Like the best kind of songwriting that Partridge did in his prime in the 80s was this sort of down on his luck, working class kind of, but not in like a Bruce Springsteen like heartlandish, like really optimistic kind of way. More in a sort of, this is how I am and this is how it's going to be, and like I'm myself. I'm not this sort of epic blockbuster hero who's going to go from rags to riches, which I really appreciate about his songwriting. And I think it feels really personal, and the guitar part is just incredible. I tried to learn it on guitar and I just got absolutely nowhere. So I that makes me appreciate it even more, because just brilliant song.
Yeah, that's cool. You tried though.
I mean, I tried for about half an hour and I was like, I'm never trying this again.
I am sticking with Mummer, but a different track for my number 4. It's In Loving Memory of a Name. This one is, I don't know if many people would have this high, but something about this track I really love the atmosphere of it. It feels kind of whimsical and dreamy, and I love the way that I think like a tuba comes in when he's saying In Loving Memory of a Name, boom, 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 boom. It all works together, and it just sounds like you're kind of, somewhere, and somebody, the singer is by this grave, and for some reason this caused him to think about who this person was. And I get the sense that he really doesn't know who this person was, and is just kind of imagining from what they've learned, or what, the information they've got from, I'm sure official British ceremonies for soldiers or whatnot. But you can kind of tell that it's just kind of like drifting around in their head. And I just think a lot of the lyrics are really touching in that way, but I think the music is also just kind of gentle and makes you kind of feel at peace despite its subject of death and loss. So I think that makes it very unique, and it's a huge highlight of that album, which is one of my favorites by XTC. So number 4.
Nice dog. Number 3 is, we're in medal position, bronze medal, from Oranges and Lemons. You know what's coming. Mayor of Simpleton, The only song that anybody would put this high from that album. As much as I like that album, it kind of stands out on its own. I think the lyrics stand out so well. And even despite the sort of cacophonous arrangement, I think like I said, the self-deprecation is really, really good. And again, like the acceptance of a situation, it's just like, I'm not the brainiest person in the world, but I've still got a big heart, and I kind of love that message. Um, I just think it's pop genius. I think this is the best baseline molding ever put down. I think it's incredible. You can't really hear it that well unless you really focus because of the mix. But if you do focus, it is like so good. And I just want to point out again the post chorus or the bridge, whatever you want. I think you can definitely classify this as a bridge. Um, in this song is incredible. I'm not proud of the fact that I never learned much. I just feel I should say, and then the do 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 bass part, and then what you get is all real. I can't put on an act as it like echoes out. It takes brains to do that anyway, and I just love those lyrics. I love how catchy that part is, and yeah, I just think that part of the song sells it completely. And I remember once I realized how much I loved that part of the song, I used to get really annoyed that it only happens once and it doesn't repeat. But I've come to accept that. If anything, it's making the song more. So that's probably a good thing. But yeah, that bridge, maybe my favorite moment in the entire discography, apart from the transition at the beginning of Skylarking, because I just think it's incredible. Like such an earworm, best part of the song. Yeah, but the whole song is great too. Yeah, really catchy. Feel like accessible to anybody. It's sort of where their 80s pop and 60s pop kind of meets in the middle. I think with this song, it's kind of got enough elements of both, which I think is a really cool mix. So yeah, very deserving number 3 for Mayor of Simpleton.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen again and see if I can catch that bridge you're talking about. I'm glad it works so much for you. I'm not completely convinced of his like I'm not very smart act for whatever reason. See, that's really the only thing that doesn't.
Yeah, no, I can see that, especially since he's using all these weird like music, like chord structures, and like he's always trying to be the clever guy. Yeah.
If I didn't know any other songs by him, maybe it would be easier for me to accept the character.
I guess in that sense, My Bird Performs comes across as more genuine with that subject from Colin. Yeah, maybe.
I probably like My Bird Performs a little more. Anyway, I like your placing of medals. I think all of these songs I'm listing are medal worthy. My bronze medal is Making Plans for Nigel from Drums and Wires. I think this is a really cool song. It kind of has the perspective of like these parents that have this idea of like what they want for their kid or something like that, and not really understanding the kid, because if Nigel says he's happy, he must be happy in his world. And like I feel like somebody that is kind of tends to daydream and stuff like that, people have told me as he's just in his own world. And it makes me so angry because it's just like, I don't mean to be like that. It's, maybe you don't understand me or what I'm thinking about, or like, you kind of get that perspective here. And even though they're singing from this other perspective, like when they're kind of eventually get to the part where they're just going in his world, it's just like, it's annoying, but I think it's really, really genius. A very cool perspective. And just kind of like the crunching nature, the post-punky industrial beat, just seems like they're kind of inevitably shipping this person and putting them into the system. Really, really interesting tune. Love how it's just kind of, it bugs you, but in the most interesting and kind of cool way possible. So that's why it's my number 3.
Yeah, maybe I should give it another chance. So, number 2, silver medal. Skylarking, surprise, surprise. Grass is my number 2. It is incredible. The production is just godly. I would say that it is godly. It is so good. Like I mentioned, those opening notes, sort of the Eastern flavor, isn't that prominent in the song as a whole, but to introduce the song is just perfect. I love Colin Moulding's lyrics on this. You know, you play hard to get just because your teacher's pet, you know, with this like the way he sings, especially on this song, but throughout any of the songs he sings, he's got this very like over the top British accent, you know. He's like got this like almost Kinksish way of singing, which I think is really cool and works really well on a lot of these songs. Yeah, it's really catchy, but it's nice and sort of slow paced and mellow. Really psychedelic. Just really great, innocent, really strong songwriting, and my favorite Colin Moulding song. So yeah, I love Grass.
Nice. Yeah,
And the
I
song
agree.
Grass is great too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a nice point about the Kinks. I do kind of hear that in Moulding's sound. He sounds just so really relatable and friendly and kind of, yeah, I don't know, something about his voice is just really really great. Partridge is always a little bit more like, but sometimes he wins me over with his songwriting. As on my number 2, Silver Medal, Love on a Farm Boy's Wages from Mummer.
Yeah,
We both love this song. I love how, you know, a lot of their songs are a little bit more upbeat, but this one is just very relaxed. The guitar part is so wonderful, as you said. And just that, the perspective of it, you know, he kind of sets the scene of being in this like farm, rural area. And when my work is done, we will borrow your father's carriage. We will drink and prepare for marriage. So he sets that scene well. And, you know, just kind of seems to reflect on, you know, is that enough? Or like, this is all I do, but like, yeah, will that be enough? People think I'm no good, painting pictures, carving wood, be a rich man if I could, but the only job I do well is here on the farm. Kind of a great honesty for the character that he's sitting about here. And I think it just, it brings a lot of sympathy for the character. And I think it's the jangly guitar and the chorus and the kind of the fast moving parts here kind of are a nice offset to the more relaxed verses. And just overall, it's just a really, really well written song. Really beautiful, really makes you think, and but still retains that melodic pop catchiness that they're so well known for.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the great examples of a song where the verse and chorus are so different, but they're seamless. It doesn't feel
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
two songs chucked together, you know? It's great. I think we both know each other's number ones, don't we? I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think I know.
My number 1 is Earn Enough for Us from Skylarking. I boldly declared it my favorite XTC song when we first sort of shared notes on this album many months ago. And it's still there. And again, this has another incredible bridge from Andy Partridge, which is a trend that I'm going to keep bringing up. Just because we're at the bottom of the ladder, we shouldn't be sadder than others like us who have goals for the betterment of life. Glad that you want to be my wife, but honest. You know, it's so good. It's like goes on for you feel like a bit too long, and he's like trying to fit in all these syllables. It's so great. And but yeah, the difference between this and Mayor of Simpleton is that the whole song is just at that same level of all-time classic for me. I just think every line has an element of meaning to it, but also a catchiness to it. And the guitar sounds amazing. Almost has this sort of like underwatery feel, which is kind of cool. But yeah, you kind of imagine listening to it like during a heat wave or something. That's kind of like how I picture it. Yeah, all sort of about the capitalist grind, you know, the everyday. And then I think the second bridge is about having a child and like a father, that's what I'll be, blah blah blah, and sort of like the extra pressure of that. And while it's like I get what you mean kind of about the progression of the album, because if there was a song about having a child at the beginning of the album, it'd be like, oh my god, this is the most beautiful thing in the world, whereas this is kind of like, oh god, we're having a kid, how are we gonna how are we gonna cope? Which is like, yeah, kind of an interesting dichotomy lyrically. But yeah, I mean, it's a perfect song. It's one of my favorite songs ever. It's just flawless. I can't really find other words to say about it, I think.
It's a great pick. I think it's a great song. Yeah, and even the part you're bringing up about the kid, I'd sort of, I think, forgotten a little bit about that section, but it's another great genius of the way that Skylarking is sequenced and ordered, for sure. And yeah, I think Partridge's songs, a lot of them have a similar kind of perspective. This one feels similar to Love on a Farmboy's Wages in some ways, and that concern about, like, is it enough? But yeah, this one is more about the working grind, and it makes it great. Speaking of which, my number one is also from Skylarking. It is The Meeting Place. It is my favorite Colin Moulding song, as well as my favorite XTC song. I just thought this song was so cool. It starts with this kind of back and forth, like in factory type sound that kind of forms the beat of the song, over which kind of an acoustic guitar lays on top of that. And the whole time, this factory sound is kind of like present, and it makes you kind of feel anxious, while at the same time there's a little bit of peace in it, like maybe it sounds familiar. And then, he kind of gets into this whole point about meet you in the secret place, scuffling in the dirt I wait, whistle will blow, whistle will blow. It's very poetic. It has this kind of item of, like, he's trying to meet somebody for something that's clearly important, probably a romantic rendezvous or something along that lines, but there's still the clear presence of this like working environment, and that kind of shows up in lyrics like strolling under grimy skies, machines that make you kiss in time. A very kind of scary thought of needing to kiss in time is so regulated. And I think we've mentioned like capitalist a lot, and it's because I think that they talk about it in their songs sometimes, and I think this was one of the songs that kind of hits me the most for whatever reason. The contrast of this kind of romantic liaison and this working setting. It reminds me a little bit of like something like Sprawl 2 by Arcade Fire or something along those lines, of that kind of contrast of feeling lost in the workplace. And but this one is less making a judgment. It's just kind of explaining and painting a picture of the situation. There's a lot of emotional weight to it, but the emotional weight is carried in not this ideal setting, and it makes it feel very realistic and kind of sad. And I think the melody is really beautiful. I love the way that when he kind of sings like "You're a working girl now," you hear these hums in the background that kind of bring in the psychedelic Indian overtones from the previous track, Grass, as well as kind of like harkening back to that 60s sound that they go for, and it just makes it even more haunting for me. And I like the bells kind of on the chorus part, which feel a little bit like harkening back to Mummer with some of the orchestration elements. So it just all combines into like exactly what I love about this band, and I really do love this song. Meeting Place, number one.
Yeah, just about made my list at number 20. I love it though; it's so great. Especially that hook with the little. It's like a bell part just before. Yeah, very unique instrumentally. There you have it. I have two honorable mentions to just throw off into the wind as lost soldiers. I've got Dear Madam Barnum from Nonesuch and Snowman from English Settlement, just missed for me. But also, tracks like you mentioned, like Vanishing Girl, was pretty close too. So, yeah. What about you? Any honorables?
Sure. I have My Brown Guitar from Lost Star and Wonderland from Mummer. It's two tracks that almost made it.
So good. Yeah, well, thank you for joining us for a lot of time of talking about XTC. Been very fun, very interesting to sort of, a different kind of exercise for me, because I'm usually like binge listening and then getting the video done, but this is very different. Maybe preferable, because I've really come to know and love this band because of the time period between each album. But I was very happy.
I like taking it at this pace if I can,
Yeah, no, it's nice for sure. The album of the year and song of the year series will be coming with Vanessa and Chris, as announced before. Not sure if the first episodes will be out by the time this comes out. I don't know what my running order is going to be. This will be out at some point. The Blue Nile and the Jam with Sam. A bit of a rhyme there. Will both be coming out probably before this as well. Loads of stuff to look forward to. Ryan and I are going to be tackling Blur. Anatomy of a Classic is going to keep going, and all sorts of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed and be ready for the unexpected, because we'll be covering a lot of different ground on the channel. So thank you for joining me, Zach, and thank you everybody for watching.